Hey guys, it's Joey Gaming and welcome back to another video here on the Joey Gaming YouTube channel. In today's video, I have a school story time. Since that school is almost done for a lot of you people in the United States, I thought about, hey, you know what? I think I should just go ahead and tell you guys a school story. This time, this is a story that I haven't told on the channel yet, and I think it's quite interesting. But before we go ahead and do that, I want to go ahead and shout out all of these people that you see on your screen right now for following me on Twitter. If you want a shout out, then follow me on Twitter. It's really that simple. Follow me on Twitter. I am trying to reach 200 followers, and we're like 25 followers away. Speaking about subscribers, 95% of you guys are not subscribed, so if you enjoy my content and would love to see more, then consider subscribing. You can always unsubscribe in the future. So this story time takes place in my senior year of high school back in 2022. It was my second semester, and on this particular day, I finished eating lunch and I left the cafeteria to go ahead and talk to one of my teachers about something. I don't really quite remember what it was, but I was on my way to talk to my teachers about something. And how the school is set up is that the main part of the school has this really long hallway, and in the middle of this hallway was another hallway that led to the cafeteria. So there was this intersection. My vice principal, and for the sake of the story time, I'm going to call him Vice Principal Zach. And the reason why I'm calling him Vice Principal Zach is, well, first of all, I don't have permission to say his real name. I don't really want to dox or release his real name. So for the sake of the story time, he's Zach. And the reason why I'm calling him Zach is, well, the dude was awesome, okay? He's like probably one of the most popular staff members in the whole school. You see, Vice Principal Zach, he is very, very popular. He's very new to the school. You see, during the time of this story time, this was his first year being a vice principal at my school. The previous vice principal was moved to the middle school, I believe. I could be wrong on that, but he's been moved to another place somewhere in the school district. My vice principal, like I mentioned previously, is insanely popular. Like, everyone in the school liked the dude. And that is rare because the thing with my vice principal, I'm not sure what other schools do, but the job of the vice principal is that he's in charge of all the disciplinary stuff. What I mean by that is that he's in charge of handing out suspensions and detentions, right? And even though that's his job, he is still very, very popular in the whole school. And one of the reasons why I think this is the case, and even the dude said this himself, is that he's just very positive about things. Like, I have not seen another emotion from this dude. The only emotion that I have only seen this dude have is happiness and positivity. That's the only thing I've seen from this dude. And like I said earlier, he mentioned this as well, but he makes the best of every situation possible. For example, he can be like suspending a student for getting into a fight or stealing something, and he'll still suspend them or give them detention with a smile on his face and still being positive about the situation. And because of that, that makes him insanely popular. And that's not the only thing he would do. For example, you can walk into school one day and you could see a whiteboard, and this whiteboard would have motivational quotes and drawings and stuff on it. And basically, my vice principal Zach, he would come up with these quotes on this whiteboard and display it at the front doors of the school so every student has to see them. And that makes him popular because you see these positive quotes every time you walk into school. He's also there. He says hello and bye and greeting people at the doors and saying goodbye to students when they're leaving at the end of the day. He would also like make notes and randomly pass them to students when, students are walking to class. Like, for example, one day I was walking to another class and I see my vice principal, and he stops me, says, "Hey Joey, I have a note for you," and hands it to me. And he told me to go ahead and read it in class when I get to my next class. I do that, and I open the note, and it's something insanely positive. Long story short, this dude's insanely positive about everything, and he's really popular. He interacts with the school, and this dude also goes to school dances as well, and he just dances, and he's just involved with the school, and that makes him insanely popular, and he's always positive, he's always bright, and I don't know, so the dude's insanely positive. So anyways, I go ahead and I walk up to Mr. Zach and I say, "Hey man, how you doing?" Me and him get into a conversation, and eventually midway through the conversation, he pulls out his phone and he shows me his Instagram account. And his Instagram account is full of art. And he goes on and says that at his previous school, he used to be a vice principal at the school in Utah. And what he would do is that he would have students send him art either through Instagram or through the school email, right? And he would go ahead and re-upload that art to his Instagram account. And one of the reasons why he did that is so he can be more involved with the school, which in my opinion is insanely awesome, because not also is this vice principal insanely cool. Like, once again, you can be burning down the whole school and get suspended, and the dude will have a smile on his face and say, "Yeah, I understand that you got suspended, it sucks, but hey, it could have been a lot worse," right? And then he'll send you home, right? That already by itself makes him insanely cool. But now he runs social media, but now that he posts social media content of students, right? That makes him more popular in my opinion. And I don't know, the dude was insanely cool. And basically he says that, yeah, at my previous school, I would have students send me art, and then I would go ahead and repost it on my Instagram account. And his Instagram account was not just full of art. He has also some personal photos as well, because he still used it as a personal thing, but he just posts like student art. And he did that so he can get more involved with his old school, which I think is insanely cool. He told me that he wants to go ahead and do a similar thing at this school, and said, "Hey man, that's really cool. I might have to give you a shout out on the school's social media pages." For those that don't know, in my senior year of high school, I was part of a program called the Exec. It's basically the student council, and I was in charge of running the social media pages, right? And I said, "Hey, you know what, man? I'm gonna have to give you a shout out on the school's social media pages, because we definitely need to get more people to follow you on Instagram, because there's definitely gonna be a lot of people that would definitely follow you on Instagram because of how cool this dude is," right? So anyways, I was talking to the dude still, right? Then another student showed up, right? And he walks over and says, "Hey, Mr. Zach, I'm pretty sure that fight clubs are against the rules, right?" And Mr. Zach, right, stops the conversation with me, looks at the kid and says, "Show me." Anyways, the kid, right, he turns around and he starts walking to the old gym. My school had two gyms. There was a new gym and the old gym. This hallway was connected to the old gym. So he starts walking to the old gym, right? And Mr. Zach follows, right? And I kind of followed, but midway through, I said, "Hey, you know what? Since I'm in the Exec, it's probably best that I don't get involved," right? Because even though that deep down, I want to go ahead and see what would happen so I can make a story time video about it, which I still am. I decided that, hey, you know what? Since I'm in the Exec and I got to be an influence, it's probably best that I'm not involved in this situation whatsoever. So I decided not to follow along. Now the perspective of the story is going to change to the students that were there and to this perspective of Vice Principal Zach. And keep in mind, since I'm hearing this from other students, this is just a rumor, so I don't know, there could be some details that are off or not true at all. But what I understand is that there's a group of students that thought, "Hey, you know what, let's go ahead and start a fight club, because of why not?" And I don't know if this fight club was actually serious or it was a joke. I don't know if it was a joke or was serious, but they decided to do like a fight club anyways, right? And anyways, they got like a group around 20 to 30 people involved, right? And apparently they start fighting. There was like 2 to 3 people fighting. And I don't know if the fighting was actually real fighting or it was just wrestling or play fighting, like not actual fighting. Like they're not trying to actually hurt each other, right? So that's what's going on. And now the story kind of changes to the perspective of Vice Principal Zach. Vice Principal Zach goes down to the old gym, right? And he goes into the boys' locker room, right? And this is where the fight was taking place. I should have just mentioned that earlier, but oh well. The fight was taking place in the boys' locker room, right? And That's what I heard was taking place. So that's what's going on. Vice Principal Zach comes in and he just shuts down the whole operation, right? And that's really about it. I didn't really hear anything else from the perspective of the students. Just all I know is that Vice Principal Zach came in and just shut everything down and sent a bunch of people down to the office. So the next day I go to school and I eat lunch, and after I eat lunch I go ahead and I find Mr. Zach, right? And Mr. Zach was in the same place as yesterday. He was still in that intersection area. So I walk over and I say, hey man, what happened yesterday? And he actually gave me an update what happened to the situation. He was unsurprisingly vague about the situation. He says, well, yesterday there was a fight club. There was a group around 20 to 30 kids, right, that were watching. Most of them are spectators. Suspensions and detentions were handed out, but mainly if you're just a spectator, people were just fine, and they just got a talking to, and that's really about it. He said it like that, but it was kind of more vague than that. It was kind of more specific, if I'm being honest, but I don't exactly remember word to word what he said, obviously, because it's been a year, right? The next thing he said to me kind of surprised me. He said among that group of people were several exec members. And to me, I thought that was crazy. And for people that don't understand the exec is basically the student council. I made videos about me being on the exec, right? And the exec are supposed to be they're supposed to be role models for the other students, right? We're supposed to be doing stuff that is not bad. We have to be doing good things. For example, we can't swear around school. We can't, be breaking any of the school rules, right? And if you're not doing any of that, you get something called the demerit, which I will mention shortly. And basically what happened is that students, right, who are part of the exec are supposed to be this role model. They're supposed to be promoting positivity. You have to be good, right? You just have to be a role model for the other students, right? And it's obviously not good when there's several exec members, right, part of this fight club, right, watching this whole situation go down, right? And basically he asks me saying, hey Joey, we haven't made any decisions yet on the exec members. What do you think? What action should we take against people that were on the exec that were there? And at this point, I was completely shocked on that question, because you have an authority figure, right, asking me for my opinion about how a disciplinary thing should happen, right? And I told them the truth, really. I said, hey man, the exec, I consider those people my people, right? I consider them family, and I just don't really want to get involved. I don't really want to have an opinion on this. And he totally understand. Me and him talked for a little bit, and then we just ended our conversation and continued for the rest of the day. And to the knowledge I know, nothing really happened to the exec that I'm aware of. If anything, they would have gotten a demerit. And for those that are not aware, a demerit means that you're on the exec and you do something that is not okay. For example, let's say that you got caught swearing, or you broke like a school rule, right? You would get something called a demerit. If you get a certain amount of demerits, then you'll get kicked off the exec, right? And you can't be a part of the exec anymore, because once again, the exec was supposed to be like a role model thing, right? Because you're supposed to be a role model for the other students. You have to be promoting positivity and being respectful to the other students, right? So if anything, if they would have gotten any trouble, they would have gotten a demerit. But best to my knowledge, they didn't really face any disciplinary action that I'm aware of. I could absolutely be wrong, but I don't remember anyone getting a demerit at all when I was on the exec/student council. So that's all I know. Also, before anyone asks this, I don't know who any of these people are that are on the exec that got caught. Mr. Zach didn't say anything about who they were. He just said, oh, there were several exec members there, So it could literally be anyone. I wasn't sure. I didn't really ask who they were, so I just thought I should just go ahead and point that out. But anyways, guys, that's the end of the story time. Thank you guys so much for watching. Moral of the story is, don't start a fight club. And if you're part of a student government thing like the exec or the student council, don't watch fight clubs, because you might get in trouble, and then then the vice principal might ask another exec member for their opinion. So I don't know. Long story short, thanks for watching. Like and subscribe if you enjoyed, and see ya. Peace.